Yo, 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 what's good? Welcome back to the Dynasty Bebop. We got cats, we got dogs, we got Mushroom Dynasty, and we got the Fantasy Footboy.
Yeah, what's up? He decided to get on my lap right before we started recording, so I guess this is
Yeah, that was
happening.
some that was some heavy petting right there, I tell you.
Yeah,
That's
you
some,
gotta
that's
gotta
something that you're
squish
not
him
gonna
good.
you're not gonna get that on every channel, I tell you that right now. This
Yeah,
is the stuff that people tune in for.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, once again, welcome back to the Dynasty Bebop. I am the Fantasy Footboy. And before I introduce you, Raymond, I do have a question because I'm sure a lot of our listeners have been curious. We see a new logo next to your name and a new name under your face a couple weeks ago. We got Mushroom Dynasty. So, what's the Mushroom Dynasty about? Where'd that come from? Like, how do you get that?
Uh, oh yeah. Well, I wasn't expecting this. All right. Yeah, no. It's just because I'm a crazy person who likes to get lost in the woods and find a bunch of mushrooms. I'm like into morels in the spring, and then moving on to the chanterelles and the black trumpets and the hen of the woods. Like I'm just out there finding them and eating them. And yeah, this year I actually have the opportunity where I'm teaching at a couple like the Ohio Mushroom Festival and stuff like that. And so, I wanted to just be representative of who I am. And, my name was boring before. It was just like Raymond 555 on Sleeper or whatever. And I was like, let's be more unique, like who else is into mushrooms? Like, I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, it sounds like mushroom lifestyle isn't that different from the dynasty lifestyle, really. I mean,
Mhm.
you've got one season that leads into another season, and then another season after that, and then you got
Yeah,
the
you
point scoring
even
season where you get to like eat all the mushrooms, and we're in the mushroom eating period right now, dude. We're like about to
right.
eat it up.
Yeah, and even in the off season, you can be grinding. I'm always going around and I identify trees a lot, and like I know, okay, this mushroom grows around this tree and stuff, and
Yeah,
so yeah, it's like just a lot of getting lost in the
you're
woods
watching
and
that. You're watching those college games right now. You're looking at the prospects. You're looking to see who the next Jamar Chase
yeah,
mushroom is going to be.
yeah,
Nice prime mushroom hunter. I love it.
yeah.
So yeah, so we just wanted to go ahead and I feel like do a show. I know there's a lot of them going on, and everyone's kind of doing their flag plants, but we figured why not. I know Ray and I both would love this part about Dynasty, about finding those guys that are going to accrue that value. And I think it goes right into the shows that we've been talking about, which is when you're building these young startup teams in startup drafts, is focusing in on players that are going to gain value through the season, because obviously you're
Hmm.
not looking to add a lot of these guys that are trying to score you a lot of points but not gain value. Maybe like a Deontay Johnson is like a good example of that player where his production this year is going to be just fine, but he's never going to grow up the wide receiver ranks. He's never going to gain any more value unless he like really Cooper Cups his way out in a season, which is
Yeah, or if
not
he
not
like
likely.
lands in a different situation where he's going to be the only weapon instead of being like one of many, and he just got that stank on him from the like ridiculous touchdown inefficiency that he had last year, and so
Yeah, yeah, for sure. A lot of what ifs, and I get it. It's always fun to chase upside, but I'm looking for chasing my upside and players that I feel like they can grow that value, and I can look to maybe flip for a first or flip use that with a first to get up another tier to an even better wide receiver or better quarterback or something like that. So, um, both of us we have a short list of five guys. It's kind of what to talk about. So I'll go ahead and let you take the wheel in this first one. And as we talk about these players, just like always, we're here to bring you the tools in Dynasty. This is another tool that if you're not using it, you're not taking your player evaluation seriously. I definitely recommend going to playerprofiler.com. There's a lot of really good information for free on here. Even right here on the homepage, it shows you the top five trending players. Right now, we got Devon A. Chain, we got Evan Hall, we got Rashad White, we got Marvin Mims. Who else we got? We got Jaden Reed. So obviously, five big rookie names that are popping up in a lot of rookie reports right now, looking to get week one opportunity right off the bat. So there's always going to be a trending group of players here, and then here you're just going to type in the player's name. So Raymond, you got the first guy. Why don't you tell me who we're talking about?
So, well, before I splurt the name out here, I did want to say that, yeah, we're seeing a lot of these like flag plant slash like riser type videos coming out. And like, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper than your average one because, like, anybody with a set of eyes at this point can be like, oh, George Pickens looks amazing. Like, he was probably underdrafted in the NFL and, like, second year breakout wide receiver, improved O line, improved. Anybody can tell you that stuff. I want to like look down further on the draft board and tell you like who are these late round guys? Who are the guys that I can actually afford to go get without like mortgaging my future right now? And so that
Right.
brought me to Nico Collins because uh, when you look at him right now, let me pull it up here. He is on Adico's ADP. He's valued at wide receiver 67. And I just think that, he's probably got the best shot at being the number one wide receiver on his team, at least for this year, whether or not like he can hold that long term. But like even 1 year of that production is gonna like bring his value up significantly. Let me see what round he's going in the 15th round here. So even like going up a few rounds here can give you that boost into the like I don't know, like Skyy Moore, Jalen Hyatt territory, and this guy's a lot easier to get towards the end of the draft, and he's got a lot of upside. He's got the 4.3 speed. He's 6'2". Like he's got what you want in a wide receiver.
Yeah, man. Honestly, this is one of my favorite styles of player to target as well. Like, not evidently like his body type or anything like that, but more or less his the opportunity that he's in. A lot of times we're looking at these wide receivers as, oh, they're not in a very good opportunity. And, I know Nico is one of those guys that I targeted in the offseason as a total buy because, he's had a quiet rookie season with 37 receptions for 480 yards, follows it up with another 60 target, 33 reception, 440 yards. So nothing special, but he's getting, close to 60 targets through his first two seasons with literally nobody throwing him the quarterback. Sorry, Davis
Yeah.
Mills lover, but
Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's not he wasn't the Tom Brady we were hoping him to be. So,
Yeah, and also
I
we got to look at like Nico was hurt for some of those games too. So while that might not be great season long marks, some of these per game like efficiency metrics that he had were a little bit better than that. Like,
yeah, but you look at numbers like this 19% target share, like that's great. You'd like to see, players that are earning targets even in bad offenses. And I think Nico Collins is a guy that we've already started to see flash. We've already seen him grow up the ranks a little bit. He is currently KTC's wide receiver 55, which kind of puts him close to the Cortland Sutton, Jaden Reed, Kadarius Toney, Brandon Cooks, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney range. So, but yeah, I'm totally with you that this is totally a player to keep an eye on through the season. I think he's still attainable in Dynasty. You could probably get him for maybe even like a Nico and a third for a second. I'd probably be willing to throw one of those deals out to a rebuilding team. They like to do those deals often, and a lot of times you might end up with a 301 in that deal, and I'm moving down from the 210, 211, 212. So, and taking a free Nico Collins and taking that dart throw. So I like kind of deals like that with players with that kind of upside.
Hmm. And I don't think he's ever going to get to the point where we're talking about Nico Collins for a first or anything like that. So if you can get a deal like that done, if I got to throw in a third or a fourth to get a second with him, I would do that. But if you just get him, you could ride him this year. I wouldn't be holding onto him thinking that he's going to go to the top of the wide receiver. So I don't see him ever being a wide receiver one in Dynasty.
No, no, he's literally like this year's Jacoby Myers, where he's a productive, reliable flex option on your roster. He does have some receiver two upside, I would say. But for the most part, he's a receiver three. And right now, being drafted as a low end receiver four, high end receiver five. So, I'd say at least you're looking to return value. And if Stroud takes the next step, like we're looking this offense possibly could, we're improved offensive line, then we're definitely looking at a player that is looking to move up those ranks pretty easily. So, yeah, I'm excited for some Nico Collins, man.
Cool.
All right. So for my first player, this is a player that I have been buying a good amount of in Dynasty. I'm hoping for the best. I know he's pretty controversial, but I think that this is a guy worth taking another shot on where he's going in the quarterback 29 and quarterback 27 on keep trade cut. So I think he's totally a player that I want to buy in Dynasty. He's not going to cost you a lot. And he has currently three weapons that are in the top four rounds of startups and picks.
Right. Yeah, there's a chance that he's not even going to have to do much. Like, he's got the guys that you can just dump it off to and let them do a lot of the work. Especially with the pressure that their running game puts on other defenses, it's gonna really, really kind of open up those easier, just like underneath routes for him. I think that yeah, he's got a better chance than people give him credit for. We heard some reports of him putting a lot of balls in the dirt at training camp, but you know, you hear good and bad reports about everybody. I'm not going to make any judgments till I see it in action on a Sunday, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's the little things like Arthur Smith coming out and talking about Desmond Ritter being their future and talking about how he's a leader in the locker room. Those are the things that you like to hear about. Those are the things that we heard a lot about from Jalen Hurts when he was going into his second season as well. So, the stuff that pops out to me, is he is a 98th percentile 40-yard dash. Hey Raymond, just a heads up. Can you move your mic down just like a little bit? I'm like picking up a lot of like nose air. I just
Oh,
want to
not again.
make
I don't
sure.
want to go into jail again.
Yeah, I had to mute you halfway down last week to make sure that we couldn't hear any of your breathing and take over the show. So if
But
I'm going to give
hey,
you your volume back,
this is actually a good this is a good opportunity to hint at the surprise that we are so very excited about, but we're not going to tell anybody.
yeah, big stuff coming, big stuff coming.
Leave
I'm
a
excited.
comment in the video guessing what our surprise is if you want to guess. And if you're right, we will give you a cookie emoji or something like a cookie. But yeah, comment in next week's video if you notice what it is. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. Well, man, tell you what, finish up this Desmond Ritter talk real quick. I just think that he's a guy I'm just willing to take a shot on. He's literally the cheapest, pretty much starting quarterback in the NFL that's not named Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'm always willing to take a shot on a guy like that has the ability to rush. He didn't look terrible in his four games he played last year. He started to look better. He's a hyper targeting offense. I think it's going to have no problem moving the ball. If they move the ball, score touchdowns. He score touchdowns. I think Ritter's going to be involved in that process. So I'm going to take a shot on Desmond Ritter. I think that we could realistically see him jump up to where we're seeing kind of Kenny Pickett and the Brock Purdy's in the 17-19 area, and have him kind of comfortable as that mid to low end QB2 going into next season.
Yeah, I think another important thing to note about him is, Heineke is not nipping on his heels like as a threat to that job. If they wind up
No.
starting Heineke over him, it will only because uh, they gave up on Desmond Ritter, and I don't see that happening this season. Like they're either gonna roll with him and win with him, or they're gonna be down there towards the bottom.
Yeah, I mean Ritter's that one of those guys on a rebuild team where he's either gonna look good, grow value, and give you an opportunity to either sell mid-season or maybe take a shot at him as your future quarterback and super flex, or he's going to help you get Caleb Williams. So either way, I think he's going to help you achieve your goals and get you where you want to go. So with that being said, what do you got for your second person?
All right, for my second guy, I have Wandale Robinson. And
Wandale!
so on the Adeko ADP, they have him at wide receiver 63, going at the 1408. But I look at it, I think he was drafted number 44 overall. And so he's got some security in his draft capital. He's even got better draft capital than Jalen Hyatt, I believe, who was
Yep.
drafted in the third round. And when you look at what Daniel Jones does well, that's exactly the role that Wandale plays in this offense. So I think if he's healthy and we're seeing him out there on a weekly basis, that they're going to have a really great connection. And it's that short yardage, just dump off to the side that both of these guys are really good at. I think it's an opportunity that could really just lead to a lot of potentially more fantasy production than actual production on the field, with it being like a short yardage thing, like low depth of target, and he doesn't really have the blazing speed to do a lot after the catch, but he's going to be more of a volume receiver as I see it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even looking through here, his rookie receiving yards, 5 air yards, 35 air yards, 19 air yards, 12 air yards, 7 air yards. He's doing a lot of his damage behind the line of scrimmage. It was a shame because, we saw that last game, 115 air yards, 100 receiving yards, 13 targets, 9 receptions. And you're like, okay, all right, this is looking pretty promising here. You know,
Yeah.
uh, he finished as receiver 9 that week with 19.4 points. That was versus the Lions, who definitely had a struggling secondary last season. But regardless, getting the work done is getting the work done. And the main thing that concerns me with Wandale is just the fact that I feel like we haven't heard literally anything about him, like
Mm-hmm.
from the Giants organization. They brought in, I don't know, 15 slot receivers, including Darren Waller, who's a slot tight end. And, they're still looking to use Daniel Bellinger in that offense, and Paris Campbell and Jalen Hyatt.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how they're going to get all these guys involved, which once again does make Wandale a pretty easy throw in for a lot of trades with someone that was picked in the early second round just a year ago and was starting to look fairly promising. Just in general, I mean, he's nothing impressive from the analytics side. Not super fast, not evidently super agile. But I do think the Giants are an offense that I just kind of trust, and in Dayball we trust. I think in
Yes,
general. So
always. We're
I
both
think
big dayball guys.
yeah, I think if anyone knows how to utilize a skill set like one Dale has, it's probably going to be Dable. So yeah, I'm curious about Wandale. I don't think I'm personally buying, but I
Yeah, I don't
applaud you
know.
for the Wandale, and we'll see what happens.
I'll take Wandale as a throw-in a trade right now if I can get that done. I'll take Wandale in a draft where you're sitting down there, especially if he
Yeah, he's like
falls a little
3.
bit, because like people are looking at other names, or like a lot of people are getting on this any RB on a 53-man roster, and so a lot of people are just slamming running backs and they're not even looking at these later receivers. So you're sitting there in a draft, let him fall a round or so, like grab him. If you don't get him, you don't have to be too upset about it, because like I said, it's not like the highest upside here. He's not going to be pushing like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave for their spot at all. But like we're looking at a guy who, if you got him somewhere like the 15th round, 16th round or so, he's going to return more value than a lot of other guys there, and maybe get you like a second rounder, or you know, be used in a trade future.
Yeah, maybe I just got my heart broke by the original Wandale, which is the Rondale
Yeah,
more. He was one of my. I really loved Rondale out of Purdue. He was such an electric player, and I thought, oh, size doesn't matter. He's gonna get involved. He's getting big targets, and just has never seemed to be a fantasy viable player. Even I mean, he's looked fine. Even last year, he had some relevant games. But I hate to use the cliche, but I think Wandale's probably a guy I would rather have in best ball, and probably not really touching them so much in lineup leagues.
right.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna jump into my second guy here, kind of keep the ball rolling. This is one I know that we have both been very high on through the entire pre-draft process. He's been on a roller coaster, up and down, throughout the spring and summer here with injuries and looking good, catching 40-yard wheel routes down the sideline and scoring a touchdown, and then pulling a hamstring again. And Kamara is going to be out the whole season. Oh wait, he's only got 3 games. It's a whirlwind for Kendra Miller, but. I think that they knew what they were doing when they brought in Kendra, and it was not evidently a 1 year rental to replace Alvin Kamara for 6 to whatever games that they were expecting him to miss. So I think he's once again he's 5'11", 215 pounds. Picked right around the same spot that Alvin Kamara was picked out of as well. He's an early declare out of TCU, so he's still a baby. He just turned 21 years old. So he's one of these running backs that we're gonna see in 2 to 3 years and be like, whoa, wait, Kendrick Miller's only 23, 24 years old. Like, I thought he was like, he's been in the league for 3 years already. And like, it's the benefit of sometimes taking these younger high end assets. He may not pop right away, which he's in the perfect offense to not do so and to gain that value. Once again, we're looking for guys to not evidently produce a lot this year one, but have the opportunity to grow that value throughout the season. So I think we're going to see just enough flashes of Kendra throughout the year that we're going to really start to see him move up the dynasty ranks, and it's just going to take one news of either Kamara not happy, getting traded, or he's one injury away from them just being like, all right, we're not investing, $10+ million into you anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that we're gonna see Kendra go. I do. The one problem with Kendra Miller right now is I think he's gonna be hard to trade for, because anybody who invested in him already isn't gonna want to sell lower than that like late first, early second that they put into him, and you don't want to spend more than that right now, like with the unknowns, and so like
Sure.
i
But
i am targeting him in drafts for sure, but like I think he's like polarizing, because people are either like really in on Kendra or really not, and so odds are is if the person has him, they're in and they're not going to want to get off of him.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. But I do think that especially in these first 3 weeks, if we see a heavier Jamal Williams workload and maybe not a whole lot of Kendra in the first 3 weeks, we got Kamar coming back in week 4. That right there is your buy window. Like
There it is.
if you didn't already get it between like in the past month or so when he was having injuries, like I was able to buy him for a mid to late second with in one of my Superflex best ball leagues and because the manager was getting kind of nervous about him and he'd rather just return that value. I spent a second round pick on him. I'm going to get that second round pick back and spend it on another running back that's maybe scoring points or take another shot at maybe that being a better second than I lost. So
Right.
um, those are bets I think I'm usually willing to take. If I'm willing to spend a 23 second on them, especially a early 23 second up to the 204, 205 on a player, I'm probably willing to give you a future second for the said player as well. It's not evidently a process trade I'd love to do when I'm just losing a player for a hope for a player.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kendra Miller, let's go. 2024,
Yeah.
president of the Saints backfield.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I got a lot of Kendre. You know, we were on him early in the process with some of our rookie videos. You know, he's one of the Bebop favorites. So
Yep, he
good to
looks
see
like an
him.
NFL running back, man. That's what I
Yeah,
want. I want running backs that look like NFL running backs. He's
right.
one of them.
Let's go. Cool. All
Awesome.
right.
Yeah, let's
So
go.
up
Number
next,
3.
I have Christian Kirk, and I've got him on my risers list. He's going on the Adeko ADP. He's going at like in the 8th round. Wide receiver 36. So he's right there around like Deontay Johnson level. Um, you know, he's a guy who I think last year we saw him rise a little bit and then he's fallen. Like the fact that he's fallen is what makes me believe he can be a riser again because I think like the amount that his value has gone down a little bit, like, is an overreaction to adding a guy who hasn't played football in several years to the team. And like, as Browns fans, we know like better than anybody. We just watched Deshaun struggle after being away from the football field for a while. Like, granted, the receiver position and the quarterback position are like different. You know, the mechanics on the quarterbacks and like the timing, that's incredibly difficult. Um, but I do think that there's a theme here with maybe not being able to just step like off of your couch and back onto the field and like just expect instant success. And like I do think guys like that are going to be more vulnerable to injury. And Christian Kirk is one Calvin Ridley injury away from being either right back where he was last year, or what I think will happen is if he makes it back to that value, people are going to be more comfortable with him staying there. And that's going to give you even a little bit more perceived value out of it because they're not worried about him dropping off. And, you know, I think we see Trevor Lawrence take another step forward this year. And that's just a potent offense that I want a part of. And if you're telling me I can get a guy that finished as in PPR, I think he was wide receiver 11 last year. Did we got it up on here?
I have him as receiver 18 on points per game,
Okay.
which obviously adjusts for players being out. So, but he did play all 17 games last year. So,
Right. Yeah, I think
a
on
receiver,
sleeper
I'm pretty
he.
sure. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, God, that was just.
Like I said, Kirk was one of my dudes last year. Like my 2 late round receivers, I was just gobbling up in every draft was Jacoby Myers and Christian Kirk. I just couldn't understand why Christian Kirk was going so late. He apparently he definitely got an upgraded offense. He just came off of 103 targets, 77 reception, 982 yards, 5 touchdown season. Finished as wide receiver 30, and half Kyler. Murray-led offense because he was banged up through a lot of that year as well. So, he was also fighting targets with DeAndre Hopkins. So, I think Christian Kirk has always been underrated. And I have here in my notes, Christian Kirk just feels like the next Brandon Cooks. I think
Right.
he's just going to be the guy. I mean, he might not even play for Jacksonville in a year or two. If Calvin Ridley does take the next step, that's fine. I think Christian Kirk's still going to get his 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns and 70 receptions. You
Right.
know, but there's also that whole possibility that you have this, which Player Profiler even has his best comparable player, Stephon Diggs.
Right.
He's still a young player, 26 years old. He was knock was always that he was a little bit smaller. He wasn't really an alpha outside clasher, but he was a prolific slot receiver in college, and he wasn't really utilized a ton in the slot at Arizona. He was used as kind of that field stretcher next to DeAndre Hopkins, and I think he's going to finally get to be utilized more of what his skill set is that most fits him in Jacksonville. I think he's gonna have big boom weeks. I don't think you can rely on him as a ton of volume like you did in the past year, but adding Tank and ETN and signing Evan Ingram to an extension, I do think that there are going to be less targets to go around in this offense. But if I was going to bet on one player who's being overdrafted at his position right now, it's Evan Ingram to lose the most amount of targets in this offense.
Yeah.
I think they're going to consolidate very much into Christian Kirk, um, Calvin Ridley, and Travis Etienne.
Well, and Zay Jones is there. Zay Jones is like a pretty decent receiver too. Like, I think like all these names that were thrown out there, like they're gonna help each other get open too, and like a lot of defensive backs are going to be focused in on Ridley, and it really could just create this situation where Kirk is just eaten because there's too many potent weapons around. You can't like double cover them all.
Yeah, yeah. You say a number here that I wrote. I can see he was 22 red zone targets last year, which is good for number 5 in the NFL. Ran 494 slot snaps, number 3. And, slot snaps, man. I like my receivers good and slotty. That's how you know that they're like ready to put out that high end fantasy production.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's risky because like I remember some of those Jarvis Landry slot routes, just seeing him just take the biggest hits and stuff, and I feel like a lot of times the slot guys are taking some of those bigger hits, but it's a productive role for fantasy, and on an offense that is no joke. So
Yeah, but also those safeties and linebackers, man, they don't want to get fined anymore, and they're just getting blown up with fines. You see it a lot from a lot of these interior slot linebacker hits. Like we're like they're not willing to like lay them out anymore because they know they're going to get that check on Monday, and
yeah,
you
it's going to be
owe
ten
forty
thousand
thousand
dollars tonight.
dollars. Right. So it helps the NFL, helps these players' longevity. I mean, I'm all about that life, so and I've always loved a good slot receiver. So
Cool.
I'm always all about it. Let's move on to let's see. This is number 3 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I'm scared might be a little bit too late already. I I was pretty excited about him. Good landing spot. There was good hype of him over the summer, and the more injuries and things that are happening, Marvin Mims is already starting to rise up the boards. Any value that you're able to get on him is just about worn out at this point. But I do think that he's got room to continue to grow. Right now, Adiko has him at receiver 41. Team Trade Cut had him at receiver 40. I feel like that's still really low. He's moved up to receiver 39 currently since I put this information in yesterday. So right now it's got him right behind Hollywood, Keenan Allen, Jameson Williams, Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper, Jerry Judy. A lot of these players that are in the position to possibly come down the ranks in the next few months.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams is a player I think is hanging on by a thread at this point at the receiver 36 position. We talked about Calvin Ridley already, his potential to move down. Quentin Johnson, who's looking to be the receiver 4 on their depth chart right now. Whether that holds true in long term or not, I don't know. But, it's just there's a lot of movement that can happen in this I don't know, I guess tier 6 or 7, I guess you would say, for a lot of these wide receivers. But I love the speed. I love the Sean Payton offense. Just the biggest fact is week 1 opportunity. Just like we were looking at from Chris Olave last year, where he was kind of one of the only guys there in New Orleans. I think it's going to be kind of just him there, and the possibility of just him there in Denver for a little while. Sutton is a guy that we saw have one good year, but still really never proven it too much after that. And Jerry Judy is probably likely to miss a handful of weeks with the hamstring.
Yeah, we haven't seen Jerry Judy put together a healthy season yet. It's been kind of scary, Judy. Uh,
Yep.
and yeah, an interesting name that I heard you bring up earlier was Jameson Williams being like just above him on the ADP and stuff right now. If neither of us have been JMO guys really. Like I think we were both maybe a little excited, like right when the rookie drafts were happening in 22. Just because you get a little excited about all the guys. But I mean, if I had JMO right now and I could pivot off of him and pick up Marvin Mims and anything else, like I would love to do that right now. I think Marvin Mims profiles is like the same kind of like big play thing that we're looking for in him. He's not suspended. He doesn't have drama or injury history. Like he's just, he's had a little bit quieter career. He's got the speed to do it. Like, yeah, like I think it's just a great situation. And like, I think that's a perfect pivot. If you've got JMO, like try to get Mims, send out some offers to see if you can get Mims in any little thing. And I would pull the trigger on that deal instantly.
Yeah, man. I heard somewhere the past couple of weeks, there has been 2 early breakout wide receivers that have fallen into the second to third rounds. You want to take a guess on who those players possibly were?
Um, uh, Go ahead.
Yeah, we got our boy Amon-Ra St. Brown
Okay.
and
Okay.
Stephon Diggs.
All right.
Both guys, they were early declares come out because they're told they're really good. They don't come out because they just don't want to play college football anymore. I'm pretty sure they'd love nothing more than to stay on campus and party with a bunch of chicks and drink and have no responsibilities. They're basically rock stars anyways, and housing's free and everything in college is free. So
Yeah.
take advantage of that if they're not really serious about the NFL. But this dude wanted to go join the NFL, even if it meant he wasn't going to be drafted in the first round. He went to a good college. He went to Oklahoma, so it's not like he was like, well, I'm at this crappy D3 school. Like, no, he was at Oklahoma. He is producing as an 18-year-old rookie or freshman. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
this
was
is
like
totally.
really close to having a breakout season as a true freshman. So,
Yeah. I mean, he's got, was it 37 receptions, 610 yards, 16 yards per reception. He had a 14% target share for 9 touchdowns. And then he added, this is another great category. He's got, another almost 200 special teams yards as well. So, they use dynamic athletes on the field in college football. You just look at Travis Hunter over the weekend with Colorado, who literally paid what, like 98% of the snaps. Like he did everything except for punt the ball. Like like that's insane. amount of work, and to be able to do these things as 18-year-olds in big programs, it tells me a lot about the kid. And I really think that once again, opportunity shares everything, and he's got a lot of opportunity in the first few weeks to really prove that he belongs in the NFL.
And who was the Oklahoma quarterback last year? Was that our boy Spencer, or who? I'm not familiar with Oklahoma's quarterback, but ultimately he was doing it. He did everything he did without one of these Caleb Huntleys or yeah,
Right. Without like
Drake
a Caleb
Mays,
Williams or Drake
or yeah,
May
sorry,
type
yeah,
things.
Caleb Williams. My bad.
Yep, different Huntley. Cool. All right, so you got your fourth guy. He was actually on my list as well. So kind of curious to talk about him and see what you got to say.
All right, yeah. For this guy here, I got James Cook. He's coming off the board, according to the Deco ADP, as RB 28, and that's in the middle of the ninth round. This is really my strategy with drafts has been to really not touch the running back position until after somewhere after that sixth, seventh, eighth round. And I think this is a perfect kind of guy sitting there. Where was he drafted? He was drafted late first, right?
Yep, 231. Basically second to last pick in the second round.
Okay, so that's a second round pick. So yeah, he's in Buffalo. He's got the most security due to his draft capital, and he's got the team investment. He's got the opportunity ahead of him. Like Josh Allen's going to take a lot from him away at the goal line, but I do think that we're going to see him kind of solidify as a weapon in this offense.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that that's just like the recency bias of the past couple of years of watching Josh Allen just truck guys. They can't do that forever, man.
Yeah,
Like
they don't
that's
want that.
like if they're yeah, they're not going to Cam Newton this guy's career, and I think they brought in James Cook as a perfect complement. They can still use Josh Allen as a design runner on here and there, but like we saw in the playoffs last year, they like literally were just like running him off the side like you would in Madden. Like there's no injuries and no endurance meter, and you just like run the same play off the side because you're like quarterback's bigger and stronger than other people because you made him and like create a player. So
Right.
like, but like, man, like we're in the real world here, and you're playing this guy, close to $1 billion over his career. Like you got to protect that investment. I think James Cook, has the pedigree. He's got the family like pedigree too. Like I think that was a big part for me when I was taking him last year in a lot of rookie drafts. He didn't really pay off his 112 to 202 investment that maybe we were paying for him last year. But I do think that he has the opportunity to be the three down workhorse this year for them, even if that means it's the Kamara workhorse type, where it's 15 to 20 catches or touches throughout the game, but maybe 7 or 8 of them are receptions, and like 12 of them are handoffs. And I'm totally fine with that. You want to, grind out some Damian Harris here and there throughout the between the 20s, or he steals a touchdown here and there. That's fine. James Cook, he gets his work done in being a dynamic running back, kind of like Tony Pollard has as well. And if you're telling me, basically, I'm getting Jahmyr Gibbs, but like in a better offense, right? Like we can
Right.
agree, like Buffalo's better, and basically the same weight, same height, similar speed, and you're getting him at a 6, 7 round discount. Yeah, sign me up for James Cook all day. I think he's the zero RB wonder kid right now. Or like,
Right.
yeah, he's a perfect way to start your draft with 5 receivers, 2 quarterbacks, and still come around and grab a James Cook.
I've been like double tapping, getting Rashad White, James Cook, and I love that,
Yep,
like those two as my top two running backs
love it.
because I spent less than anybody else in the draft on starting running backs, and they're both guys with high upside, high investment from their team, and a lot of opportunity ahead of them.
Yeah, yeah. And he's a guy right now. Actually, I'm surprised neither of us had him on our actual talk about it list. I've got five running backs, five quarterbacks, and five wide receivers. Follow a link down below to join our Discord, and I will be posting all five of my quarterbacks, all five of my running backs and wide receivers. We got really fun questions of the day we've been doing throughout the week. We're getting some really good engagement from the team members. I'll even bring up here in a little bit. We asked the Discord as well who they thought some of their risers would be. So I'm going to share a few of those on screen as well. And yeah, I'm excited to keep this Discord growing. Good into the season, locked in here every Monday with the Bebop. So,
Yeah.
but once again, James Cook, receiver 18 on Keep Trade Cut. So he is definitely a big mover already throughout the this off season program. So even already from where Deco's ADP was last to where Keep Trade Cut is valuing him is already close to a 10 spot difference.
Hmm.
Um, that's getting a little spicy for me, but I don't hate it. It's got him right below Derrick Henry, Damian Pierce, Najee Harris, Javante, Ramondre. So that I think that's pretty accurate where he is currently at running back 18. But I still like paying the RB 18 price to probably get some low end receiver one output.
Yeah, and then also something I wanted to say is um, the running back market right now. Everybody is so scared because we're like entering this new era where running backs are seemingly worthless. They have no security. Everybody's like not getting a second contract and stuff. I think that's an overcorrection. I think that we've been like valuing that opinion a little too much. And I do think that we're going to see some correction on this. And we're going to see kind of a rising tide that raises all ships of like worthwhile running backs. We're going to see the values kind of creep back up a little bit too. So I think he's kind of right where like he's kind of settling into like right where he should be in the rankings, but that doesn't mean that that his value can't go up because all of their values can go up in like relative to the other positions, you know. So there's still room to grow there.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I would not be surprised. I mean, he goes out there and is a three down running back like we're expecting him to be. Like, it would not surprise me at all to see him in the top seven for dynasty running backs. As a 23-year-old in a prolific offense with the last name of Cook. Like, I mean, we've seen it happen before where, Dalvin wasn't Dalvin Cook in year one. I mean, he was showing flashes and then he tore the ACL and then he came back, a little slow and then he had, 3 years of high end RB production afterwards. So
Yeah,
it
and
wouldn't surprise me at all if James Cook does the same.
I'm just a sucker for Georgia running backs too. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you
In
wore
Shelby
that
Trust,
uniform.
baby.
Yeah, you wore that
Yep.
uniform. I want you on my team.
That's this man right here. Talk about him. He's going to lead the league this year in rushing. He's already said he's rushing for Jim Brown. And, like, I don't think that Nick Chubb is going to let down the
Jim
spirit of
Brown.
Jim Brown. Like, he's literally going to run through every player on the field, like John Madden football. Like, literally, like old Jim Brown highlights. That's what I'm expecting from Nick Chubb this year. I'm stoked for it.
Possessed.
I'm here.
A
Yes,
man
like a man
possessed.
possessed. Good. Hand him the effing ball, bro.
Let's go.
All right. So this is another one that we both talked about a good amount in the pre-draft process. Our first short that we ever made, we talked about these two Tennessee players. Somebody had to be good, right? So, like, I feel like we're back at it, and we've got some more information, and I think I know who it is. I think it's Jalen Hyatt. I
Yeah.
think he might be just the guy that was in that offense that is good. Um, he once again he's different from the other players that are currently on the New York Giants. Now that puts him in a unique skill set where they can use him in different ways. Once again, in Dayball we trust. So if anyone can know how to watch him at Tennessee and how they schemed him up, getting the open releases, getting him in motion, that's the stuff that allowed him to get up to speed faster and burn and cook these DBs. And that's what we've been seeing all offseason. At preseason games, we're just, bam, Jalen Hyatt wide open. Well, I mean, yeah, well, he's just wide open. He's just
It was the
blown
broken
coverage. Like,
coverage, yeah. Like, or he's breaking the coverage.
yep. So I regret right now. I did not get Jalen Hyatt in my rookie draft. He was going like late second, early third round, and I mean, man, I buying those running backs, and I needed my Roshans and my tanks and my all that stuff, and Hyatt just got stuck in the no zone, man. He's a friend zone wide receiver now. We're just friends.
Yep, it's me too. Yeah, I was really. I'm finishing up the last Dynasty startup of the off season here, and that was one of the only guys I got sniped on here, and I was even reaching a little bit, and I was planning on taking him, and he didn't make it. I was picking at the 4, waiting until the come around. I was going to do him on my second pick there, and he didn't make it back to me. I picked Marvin Mims, and then I was going to pick Jalen Hyatt next, and he was gone. But yeah, I
Yeah,
love.
yeah.
He's like a hands catcher, which is something that I love to see when I watch the tape on him. Like just catching the ball away from his body, like doing things like he's not trapping the ball. Like he's able to like get out there and work in space. Like I think he's going to be the real deal. And he just seemingly kind of slipped through the cracks in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he went in the third round, people were, "Oh, he's done. He's done.
Right.
He didn't go in the first round like we all thought he was." I mean, like, I don't know. Like, it's just sometimes players like that slip, and I understand. There's probably a lot of scouts that looked at him as a scheme dependent wide receiver. Well, guess what? He went to the right scheme.
Yeah. Dayball can scheme.
Yeah, yeah, we're good. We're all safe. Let's take a deep breath and just draft Jalen Hyatt. Like, I think he's the guy you want on your roster. He's going to give you that 2 to 3 touchdown game, man. That's going to get everyone's fantasy juices going, and they're just going to want that Hyatt to add to their Hyatt place of hotels. So, all right, you got one last guy for me?
Yeah, for my last guy, I'm going with a quarterback here. I'm going with Aiden
Ooh, a quarterback.
O'Connell.
Wait, who?
Aiden O'Connell.
Who?
Aiden
Who?
O'Connell. He's a Derek Carr Jr. He also wears eyeliner and stuff or whatever it looks like. No, they look crazy similar, and especially seeing him in that Las Vegas Raiders uniform.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming off the board as the QB 46 on the Adeko ADP, and that's like the 23rd round. So he's virtually free. I've kind of like taken on a new strategy when I get later in the drafts is like, the warp tool from South Harmon has kind of changed my mind. And, once I start getting into those players where the warp curve flattens out, I'm not even waiting. I'll like reach up into the 18th, the 19th, and I'll go grab Aiden O'Connell because, you know, I'll sit here and wait for somebody to find the last time Jimmy Garoppolo made it through a whole season healthy, and like let alone when he's starting the season with questionable health. Another thing that I really like about this guy, I've been watching the QB school with JT O'Sullivan, and that is a fantastic channel. And I've noticed that he'll make videos of the main guys that everybody needs to hear about. But then if you're not one of those main guys, if he's making a video of you, it's because he likes you. And he made one of Aiden O'Connell from every single preseason game. Um, you know, it's beautiful what he's doing, like with the reads. He's making it through his reads and he's making the right decisions, which is what a young quarterback needs to get on the field. And I think, regardless of whether he was ready or not, like, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to provide him with the opportunity. And I just believe that when he gets it, he's a guy that's going to be ready. I'm not saying I'm not saying he's the next Brock Purdy and going to have that kind of ascension, but I think he's a guy you could get late in the draft, pick up, and I don't know, maybe you're getting multiple seconds from him by the end of the year from somebody who's really trying to buy that upside. They see the rising asset and they're like, I got to get in on that. Or maybe it's something that you could turn him in a second into a first or something like that. And I'd be happy to
Hmm.
do that. The one thing I don't want to do with Aiden O'Connell is hold him too long because I don't think that we've got the necessarily the skill set or um, the security to like hold in there for years to come. But I think we can see a big swoop in his value in a good window to capitalize on that.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely gave you that Davis Mills rookie season vibe, where he could even maybe lead that team into year two. Vegas take shows or kind of like comes across as a team that's not bad enough to get a top three pick, but not good enough to do anything else. So I could really see them stuck in the no zone, regardless. Maybe switching to Aiden O'Connell midway through the season, or once again, Jimmy Garoppolo hands it over to him like he typically does with being injured.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
I
and you
think that
look at the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say I just feel like he really showed in the preseason that he can run an NFL offense, and
Right.
and that was the biggest thing that I took away from seeing him early in the process. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think if you look, he's got weapons around him. He's got Devonte Adams, like Jacoby Myers is a decent wide receiver, even if like people hate him because of the touchdown inefficiency he had to start his career. He's got Michael Mayer. He's got some like offensive weapons where if he can just continue to make the right reads and just be smart with the ball, we're going to see him definitely climb from wherever you're drafting him after like the 15th round.
yeah, 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 definitely, man. Cool. Yeah, I think he's a good one for those. I call them the zero QB strategy people like myself that we like to be a little ballsy with the Desmond Ritters, Sam Howells, and then take a few dart throws on your Aiden O'Connell, your Mike White, your Clayton Tunes, Jacoby Brissett's. Some of those guys that have shown in the past that they can run NFL offenses. They have good offensive weapons around them, and their quarterbacks in front of them have not proven to be healthy fantasy players through 17 weeks. So that's usually my formula for looking at those late round quarterbacks. And honestly, formula I learned from the Mushroom Man himself up there, the from Mr. Raymond. He was always finding those trash quarterbacks down in the dumpsters and gets a good stinky 3 to 4 starts from him, or maybe even longer with Davis Mills. And sometimes he's better than the guy I spent a ton of capital on, like Trey Lance, and you just move on with your life.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I got one more that I want to talk about. This was actually, I think last year we had the debate. It was this guy or Wandale Robinson, Skyy Moore. Um, I was kind of on the Skyy Moore side. You were on the Wandale side. They both kind of were very similar players. Quick, little bursty guys. Small school. Skyy Moore ended up going in the late second round to the dream spot, the Kansas City Chiefs, and was not a productive rookie. We saw some flashes in the playoffs. He kind of touched on the Super Bowl. Shout out to my buddy who had money on Skyy Moore anytime touchdown. can't believe he put money on that, but that's just the way he goes sometimes. Um, but yeah, knock that down, and I think that Kansas City's just a team that's not in a hurry. They have their win now team. They've got Mahomes, they've got Travis Kelsey, and the guys, the ancillary pieces that bring in around them. They're not like other teams. They're like, oh, we gotta get this guy out there. We gotta show everybody that we're not idiots. Like, well, we know the Kansas City Chiefs aren't idiots. They drafted Mahomes, and they're just perennial like AFC championship contender, Super Bowl contender teams. So they got nothing to prove. Andy Reid knows what he's doing. Another guy like Dayball, or just trust him, trust the process. And once again, the way we're seeing them use Skyy Moore out of the backfield, using him in different situations. Kadarius Toney's banged up, but he probably always will be. And I watched the Travis Kelsey podcast, the Kelsey brothers, the New Heights show that they do. Shout out Cleveland and Cleveland Heights. And one of the things that he always talked about, he's like, yeah, just get out there and get open. I'll get you the ball. Like it doesn't matter. Like Mahomes is just like, just go out there and get open, and I'll find you. Like that's how Kelsey makes his bread and butter. Like it's gonna be the same way for Skyy Moore. He's been a zone beater most of his career, so he's good at sitting in that pocket and finding the hole. And I think he's gonna end up really being a really good safety valve. I'm hoping that he kind of grabs on to Travis Kelsey and learns his ways and how to read the different or defenses and have those three-way routes and whatnot. Um, Rashid Rice is another one that they brought into that offense that I'm just not super scared about. No one in that offense really scares me to be a target monster outside of Kelsey. So I'm going to take one of the cheapest guys, and right now it's still Skyy Moore, who I believe is going as the wide receiver 44 on Keep Trade Cut, receiver 54 last time I checked on Adico's ADP. So, Skyy Moore, dynamic, best offense in the NFL, quarterback's not going anywhere. Yeah, let's go. Second round pick.
Yeah, I see Skyy here as one of the guys on this list because I've warned with several of these guys that I'm projecting a value spike, but we're not going to hold on to it. Skyy Moore is the opposite. He's one of these guys where if we see a value spike, I'm fine holding on to this guy because if the value goes up, I don't see the situation changing for a while. He's going to have a few years of this like value situation of being with Pat Mahomes, like being on a rookie contract. And, whoever would have thought that like a second year wide receiver could break out and do better than a first year wide receiver? Like it's a common occurrence, but for some reason, if you didn't do it in your rookie year, people just give up on you. So I'm
How can he ever be
agreeing.
Justin Jefferson if he doesn't break the NFL record in his rookie year? That's how
On his
Jamar
third
Chase
game,
did it.
yeah.
Yep, Jamar Chase broke the rookie record in his first season. So if you're not breaking the rookie records, then you can't be a top 2 wide receiver. It's just how life goes. So, yeah, Skyy Moore should just hang out his cleats because he didn't break the rookie record his first year.
Right. No, I do. I think that we could be seeing like a future perennial wide receiver, like late wide receiver 2, early wide receiver 3, with some higher upside.
Yeah, I don't even know how to like comp Skyy Moore, to be honest. Player Profiler has him at Golden Tate, and there's been players like that in the NFL that I've seen succeed, and but yeah, he's just an interesting player and an interesting offense, and it just has me curious. And once again, it's not going to take much for that player and that offense to gain value, because if he just shows it for a few weeks, people are going to be like, "Yep, he's next Tyreek Hill. Like, get him, lock him in. He's going to be Mahomes' best friend." So. Well, cool. I wanted to jump into the Discord real quick just to give people a little insight of some of the community and some of the people
Yeah,
that we have as listeners.
pull up some of
Um,
our Discordees picks too. Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't want to straight up out our Discord members on who their risers are in case they're still trying to buy them. So to be a little bit fair, I'm just going to read you off some of the names that our Discord members have came up with, and tell me if you got any on here that pique your interest. I've got a Brandon Ayuk. I've got a Jahan Dotson. I got an Elijah Moore. I got George Pickens. Another Brandon Ayuk. I got a Traylon Burks. I also have a Jalen Warren on here. What do you think about Jalen Warren as a
Um,
riser?
I think that he was like a riser last year because I like his value is going. It could go a little bit further. But in my mind, with the investment that they have in him, just being an undrafted guy, like I'm just projecting maybe at max a 2 year window for his relevance. So I feel like he's kind of like a previous riser. Like even though he's not fully ascended, we kind of, we're a little bit further down the road on that rise.
Right, 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 right. He hasn't taken the full blue pill and full on, but he's just
Yeah,
got a
and
little blood flowing and
right,
doing all
with
right.
the RB market the way it is, like I don't see him getting like any significant second contract from anybody. Like his best shot is if he can like stay with the Steelers, if he's humble about the amount of money that he needs to get and like just takes whatever he has to take to stay with the Steelers. I think that's going to be the best situation for him. But this is a guy like when he hits the open market, like I don't think that's going to be good for his value. Where a guy like Brandon Ayuk hitting the open market could be amazing for his value.
Yeah, so yeah, talk about Brandon Ayuk. He's definitely a popular name on this list here. He's my boy, Brandon
Yeah,
Ayuk. I broke my heart a little bit in year two, but I'm back on the Brandon Ayuk train full on here. So
yeah, I think that Debo has been such a popular guy and like everybody's kind of favorite receiver for a little while. Um, I think Brandon Ayuk's getting looked over, and I think he might be the most skilled pass catcher they have. So yeah, I don't want to.
yeah,
I He's your guy. I don't want to take too much away from you here. Like
nah, man. I talk about my guy all day. I love to hear it. It's like talking about how beautiful my girlfriend is, or whatever. You're like, yeah, man. You can talk about how hot she is. That's fine. You can talk about how sexy my Brandon Ayuk is. Um, yeah, yeah. I think the route runner. I think that he was good with Purdy as well. So you know, I did even put on the question here, just like, but what is the realistic ceiling for Brandon Ayuk, who's right now like what receiver, like 24 ish, 25 range? For him to get up into the T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, like it's a tough ask, as we got more guys coming up. Is Christian Watson going to take the next step? Is JSN going to ascend? What about Addison or QJ or, Drake London? It's just, man, it's a tough market to get into. Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, Brandon Ayuk, um, Elijah Moore too. Kind of honestly, that was a good list of players. I thought were all similar, and they all had like sex appeal at one point, and then were doubted at another point, and then just kind of got stuck a little bit in like the rankings purgatory,
hmm
where now they're like people don't want to put him as top 12, but they're not willing to put him as like a bottom 30.
Yeah, I see these guys as their rise is maybe going up like 4 or 5 spots, but then like solidifying that would be the rise that like because if you look at it like the roller coaster ride, if we can rise away from the roller coaster ride, that's also like a form of rising in my book. If you're rising to like stability in your value, and that's the way I think he can rise. Is I think he can solidify and end the up down, hot cold Brandon Ayuk relationship that we've had, and like yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah, Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it's got real interesting, man. I'm so excited for Thursday night. We got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions.
I
So,
have I have Jameer Gibbs in redraft and dynasty. I'm letting him roll in best ball. Obviously, I'm hoping he makes it into the lineup, but I don't think I'm starting Jameer Gibbs in week one. Even in the season long dynasty leagues that I took him in.
man, I've got him in so many spots and in underdog, especially. I opened up some of those like early drafts. I was like, wow. I ended up with like 100% exposure to Jameer Gibbs in a couple of those.
Wow.
But hey, man, I got no regrets because I was getting a pretty decent value back then. So I think all the reports about positionless football and all this, it sounds great until sometimes you get to reality and you're like, well, positionless football only meant 8 touches a game, though. Like, that wasn't good. Like,
Total
uh,
football.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Going all
awesome.
Ted Lasso
Well,
on it.
yep, yep. All right, buddy. Well, once again, get some rest. Got a lot of excitement coming in for the next 17 weeks. Tune in with us every Monday. Hopefully, we'll be switching over to a full live broadcast here where you can go in, comment, talk along with us. Again, join below to the Discord. There's a link in the description. I've got a question of the day that we're always asking. Today we were having a discussion about how we got into Dynasty with who was our first round rookie pick, or first round pick of our first draft. Mine was Marshall Falk back in 1999, believe it or not. So probably younger, or 1999 is probably a few years before some of you were even born. So
Yeah,
that's how long I've been.
I think mine was DeMarco Murray or
Yeah.
something like that. You know.
Yeah, I can say you always remember your first love, which Marshall Falk was mine, and then my first heartbreak was Eddie Lacy. That was he came back from summer camp looking all fat, and it
You kept
wasn't
trying
just
for a few years. You kept trying. You're like, it's gonna pay off one of these times.
101 Eddie Lacy, and then like 2 years later it was like third round Eddie Lacy, and then I was like
Yeah,
eighth round Eddie Lacy.
and then they draft Jamal Williams, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to get this Jamal Williams guy. What's this Aaron Jones 6th round pick gonna do? Nothing. Yep.
Yep.
Then you hit on that. I wound up dropping Jamal that year, but yeah, that's the
Yep.
past. Yeah, guys, tune in for our big surprise next week. Well, you'll get to see something cool, and yeah, until then, keep bebopping.
Yep, I'm the fantasy foot boy. He's the Mushroom Dynasty. We are the Dynasty Bebop. We out. Peace.
Peace.